When you decide to transform your life in a short span of 6 months, the very first step is setting clear and specific goals. Without goals, you drift, moving through days and weeks with no compass, no direction, and no real purpose. The difference between a person who achieves remarkable results and one who remains stagnant lies in their ability to articulate with precision exactly what they want. It is not enough to say you want to be successful, happy, or wealthy. These are vague notions that provide no framework for action. Success comes to those who translate abstract desires into concrete, measurable objectives that leave no room for confusion. A mind that knows precisely what it is pursuing commands focus, energy, and creativity in a way that a mind clouded by vagueness never can. 6 months is not a long time, but it is enough to accomplish extraordinary things if your goals are defined with clarity. When you think about goal setting, the first mistake to avoid is generalization. If someone says they want to earn more money, that is too broad. How much more money? By when? Through what means? A powerful 6-month goal would be to increase monthly income by a specific percentage, say 40%, and then build a plan backward to support it. Specificity gives your subconscious mind a target to lock onto, and it engages your imagination to figure out pathways that align with the outcome. Imagine an archer aiming at a target. If the target is blurry, if it shifts constantly, the arrow has no chance of landing in the bullseye. But if the target is clear, fixed, and visible, then every ounce of skill and discipline can be directed toward hitting it. Your goals are no different. They must be written, visible, and precise. Writing down your goals may sound simple, but the act of putting words on paper begins to transform vague wishes into a personal contract. A goal that lives only in the mind is like smoke. It changes shape, disappears, and reappears. But a written goal becomes concrete, something you can read daily, reflect on, and measure yourself against. When you commit your goals to writing, you establish accountability. You also train your mind to view these goals not as possibilities, but as destinations. Each time you read them, you reinforce belief in your ability to achieve them. The written word has a permanence that thought alone cannot offer, and this permanence strengthens resolve. Clarity of goals also eliminates wasted effort. So much energy in life is lost to indecision, procrastination, and conflicting priorities. When your goals are clearly defined, you can filter every opportunity, task, or distraction by asking a simple question. Does this move me closer to my 6-month objective? If it does, proceed with vigor. If it does not, set it aside. This filtering mechanism conserves your most precious resources: time, energy, and attention. People who drift without specific goals often spend their days busy yet unproductive, because their activity is scattered. In contrast, someone with precise goals moves with purpose. Their actions, no matter how small, accumulate like drops of water filling a vessel until the 6 months reveal a transformed life. Visualization becomes much more powerful when your goals are specific. You can close your eyes and see yourself achieving the result in vivid detail. If your goal is to lose 20 pounds, you can picture yourself stepping on the scale, wearing clothes that fit differently, feeling energy coursing through your body. If your goal is to read 12 books, you can imagine the stack of finished books on your shelf, the insights you have gained, and the conversations you can now engage in with confidence. The clearer the goal, the richer the visualization, and the more strongly your subconscious accepts it as achievable. This mental rehearsal strengthens confidence and motivates action. Specific goals also allow you to measure progress. If the goal is vague, there is no way to know if you are advancing or merely treading water. With precise goals, you can set milestones, check in weekly or monthly, and see whether you are ahead, on track, or falling behind. This feedback loop is invaluable because it enables adjustment. If you are falling short, you can analyze what needs to change: more disciplined routines, new strategies, or better use of time. Without measurement, there is no learning. With measurement, every week becomes an opportunity to course correct. Over 6 months, these small adjustments compound into large improvements that make success inevitable. Another crucial aspect of goal setting is the emotional connection. A clear goal is not just a number on paper, it is infused with personal meaning. Why do you want to increase your income? Perhaps it is to provide better opportunities for your family, to break free from financial stress, or to pursue a passion without fear. Why do you want to improve your health? Maybe it is to gain confidence, to live longer, to set an example for your children. When your goals are specific, you can tie them to emotions, and emotions are the fuel of persistence. Logical goals may be written, but emotionally charged goals are lived. They ignite the inner drive that keeps you moving even when obstacles arise. Setting clear goals also transforms your identity. When you declare to yourself that you will accomplish something specific in 6 months, you begin to adopt the mindset and behaviors of the person who achieves that outcome. You stop thinking like your old self and start thinking like the person you are becoming. If your goal is to run a half marathon, you begin to see yourself as a runner. If your goal is to write a book, you start to see yourself as an author. This shift in identity is subtle but powerful. The clearer the goal, the stronger the identity transformation, and the stronger the identity, the more natural it becomes to act in alignment with it. The importance of deadlines cannot be overstated. A 6-month time frame creates urgency. Without a deadline, goals can be postponed indefinitely, lost in the haze of someday. But when you say you will achieve something within 6 months, each day matters. Time is short enough to demand focus, but long enough to allow meaningful progress. Deadlines sharpen commitment. They transform wishes into commitments and commitments into actions. By setting a 6-month horizon, you balance ambition with realism, giving yourself enough time to succeed while preventing procrastination. Ultimately, setting clear and specific goals is about creating certainty in an uncertain world. Life will always present distractions, challenges, and unexpected detours. But when your goals are defined, you possess a steady anchor. You know where you are going even if the path twists. This certainty gives confidence, resilience, and direction. It reduces stress because you no longer question what you should be doing with your time. You know, and knowing liberates you from hesitation. With clear goals, you move each day with intention, and intention compounds into transformation. A strong growth-minded philosophy is the foundation upon which all meaningful change is built. It is not merely about what happens in your life, but about how you interpret, respond to, and grow from those events. People often believe that their circumstances control their destiny, but the truth is that circumstances are neutral. It is the philosophy through which you filter them that determines whether they become stepping stones or stumbling blocks. Two people can face the exact same challenge and walk away with entirely different outcomes. One feels defeated, while the other feels strengthened and wiser. The difference lies in the perspective they adopt, and perspective is born from philosophy. 6 months may seem like a short time, but if you spend that period cultivating a mindset that consistently seeks growth, resilience, and lessons within every situation, you can alter the trajectory of your entire future. A growth-minded philosophy starts with the belief that life is not static. You are not locked into the skills, habits, or circumstances you possess today. Everything about you can expand, evolve, and improve if you commit to the process. This belief is critical because without it, you will avoid challenges, fearing that failure defines you. With it, however, you welcome challenges because you see them as opportunities to stretch your potential. This is the essence of what Napoleon Hill emphasized. Success is not the result of luck or chance, but the outcome of a deliberate, consistent philosophy that embraces growth. Once you internalize this truth, setbacks no longer frighten you. Instead, they become feedback, guiding you closer to your goal. The philosophy you adopt also determines how you handle discipline. Many people want quick fixes, instant results, and immediate gratification. But the laws of success do not bend to impatience. Progress demands consistency. A growth-minded philosophy recognizes that the fundamentals, daily habits, focused effort, and long-term vision are what lead to extraordinary results. Rather than being discouraged by the fact that transformation takes time, you embrace it because you understand that compounding is at work. Just as a single coin doubled repeatedly becomes a fortune, so too do small acts of discipline build into massive change. Your philosophy becomes the lens that sees value not in fleeting bursts of effort, but in steady, patient growth. There is also a profound difference between inspiration and philosophy. Inspiration is temporary. It comes from an outside source, a book, a video, a speech. It may ignite motivation for a few hours or days, but when the spark fades, old habits creep back in. Philosophy, on the other hand, is internal. It is the set of principles by which you choose to live every day, regardless of whether you feel inspired. If you adopt the philosophy that every day is an opportunity to improve, then you will act on that belief even when your mood is low, even when the world feels heavy, even when results are slow to appear. Philosophy anchors you to consistency, while inspiration only floats you temporarily. This distinction is why people with a strong growth philosophy accomplish more in 6 months than others do in years. Your philosophy also shapes how you view problems. For many, problems are roadblocks, reasons to quit, or proof that they are unworthy. With a growth-centered mindset, problems are puzzles. They are invitations to grow stronger, smarter, and more resourceful. Instead of asking, "Why me?" you ask, "What can I learn from this?" or "How can I turn this into an advantage?" When you embrace problems as natural elements of progress, they no longer carry the same weight of fear. They become evidence that you are moving forward. Growth does not happen in comfort zones. It happens at the edge of your ability, in the space where problems force you to stretch. Over 6 months, if you treat every problem as a lesson, your confidence and capability will grow in ways that surprises you. Equally important is the role of responsibility in philosophy. A growth-minded person refuses to live as a victim of circumstance. They accept that while they cannot control everything that happens, they can always control their response. This responsibility is empowering because it places the power back into your hands. Instead of waiting for conditions to change, you adapt, innovate, and persist until you create the outcome you desire. Over 6 months, this mindset shifts you from being reactive to proactive. You stop complaining and start creating. You stop blaming and start building. You become the driver of your life, no longer a passenger being tossed by external forces. Philosophy also influences how you see time. Many squander time as if it were limitless, procrastinating, drifting, and wasting days. A growth philosophy sees time as the most precious resource because it is the one thing you cannot replace. When you recognize that each day is a building block in your 6-month journey, you treat time with reverence. You use it intentionally, knowing that small, consistent actions add up to monumental change. Instead of lamenting that 6 months is too short to achieve anything significant, you realize it is the perfect window to prove the power of compounded effort. You know that the next 6 months will pass regardless. Your philosophy decides whether they leave you transformed or unchanged. Another dimension of a growth focused philosophy is the way you view others' success. A scarcity mindset sees others' achievements as threats or reminders of your inadequacy. A growth mindset sees them as evidence of possibility. When you witness someone reaching heights you aspire to, you think, if they can do it, I can too. You study their methods, you adopt their strategies, and you let their success fuel your own belief. Jealousy fades because you understand that there is no limit to success. Opportunity expands with creativity, and one person's accomplishment does not reduce your potential. This outlook reduces bitterness and replaces it with curiosity, gratitude, and determination. Cultivating a growth philosophy also requires vigilance against negative conditioning. Society, peers, and even family can project limiting beliefs that you are too old, too young, not educated enough, not talented enough. If you internalize these beliefs, they form the foundation of your philosophy and set ceilings on what you attempt. To transform your life in 6 months, you must reject these inherited limitations. Your philosophy must be one of possibility, grounded not in what others believe, but in what you decide to pursue. It is a conscious choice to feed your mind with empowering ideas, to surround yourself with examples of success, and to challenge every assumption that says you cannot. The ultimate test of philosophy comes not when things are easy, but when they are difficult. Anyone can maintain a positive outlook when everything is going well, but when setbacks arrive, when progress slows, when plans fail, when doubt creeps in, your philosophy either collapses or strengthens. If you have built it on shallow foundations, you will quit. But if you have cultivated a deep belief in growth, you will persist. 6 months is enough time to face challenges, and it is through these challenges that you refine your mindset. Every time you push forward instead of quitting, your philosophy of growth is carved deeper into your character until it becomes unshakable. The people you surround yourself with exert a powerful influence on your thoughts, habits, and ultimately your destiny. Human beings are social by nature, and we subconsciously absorb the attitudes, behaviors, and expectations of those we spend the most time with. Over 6 months, This influence compounds in subtle but significant ways, shaping what you believe is possible, what standards you hold yourself to, and how much energy you bring to your goals. If you want to transform your life in half a year, you must carefully choose who earns your time and attention. The adage that you become the average of the 5 people you associate with most is not just a catchy phrase. It is a principle of human psychology and success. Your associations either pull you upward toward growth or drag you downward into mediocrity. When you consistently spend time with negative or uninspired individuals, you inherit their limitations. Their pessimism seeps into your thinking, their doubts become your doubts, and their excuses start to sound reasonable. You may not notice the shift at first, but slowly your energy diminishes, your goals shrink, and your standards erode. Conversely, when you spend time with ambitious, disciplined, and optimistic people, you naturally raise your game. You feel challenged to improve, motivated to keep up, and supported when difficulties arise. Their belief in growth reinforces your own, and their habits become contagious in the best possible way. Over 6 months, these differences in association create vastly different outcomes. One path leads to stagnation, the other to transformation. The key is to become intentional about your relationships. Instead of passively accepting whoever happens to be in your environment, you actively curate your circle. This does not mean abandoning people entirely, but it does mean adjusting the weight of influence they hold in your life. If someone constantly complains, discourages, or distracts you from your goals, limit the amount of time and emotional energy you invest in them. If someone inspires you, challenges you, and exemplifies the qualities you wish to develop, find ways to spend more time with them, even if only virtually through books, podcasts, or videos. Associations are not limited to physical presence. The voices you consume through media also shape your mindset. Surrounding yourself with the ideas of successful thinkers is just as powerful as surrounding yourself with successful people in person. It is equally important to recognize that association is not only about who influences you, but also about who you influence. If you take your 6-month transformation seriously, you must evaluate whether you are adding value to the lives of those around you. Are you the kind of person who uplifts, motivates, and inspires others, or do you drag them down with negativity and excuses? This self-reflection ensures that your circle of influence is mutually beneficial. The best relationships are those where both parties push each other higher, holding one another accountable to higher standards. Over time, these mutual influences create a powerful synergy that accelerates growth for everyone involved. Peer pressure is often thought of in a negative context, but when leveraged correctly, it can be a force for good. If you align yourself with people who take their goals seriously, their commitment will pressure you to honor your own. If you belong to a mastermind group, a study circle, or a fitness community, the group's collective standards push you to show up even on days when you would otherwise slack off. In this way, your environment reduces the burden of discipline by making success the norm rather than the exception. Over 6 months, this kind of positive peer pressure keeps you consistent, which is the true secret to long-term transformation. Choosing associations wisely also means identifying mentors or role models. These do not always have to be personal acquaintances. Sometimes they are figures whose work you study from afar. By modeling their principles, habits, and strategies, you effectively bring them into your circle of influence. Mentorship shortens the learning curve by exposing you to lessons others learned through years of experience. If you deliberately seek such guidance over 6 months, you will absorb not only practical skills, but also a mindset of resilience and possibility. Every conversation, every book, every lesson becomes a stepping stone on your journey. Another important aspect of associations is energy. Some people energize you simply by being around them, while others drain you. Energy is not just about enthusiasm, it is about alignment. When you are surrounded by people who share a growth-oriented vision, conversations revolve around ideas, solutions, and opportunities. These discussions spark creativity, encourage action, and reinforce belief. On the other hand, when you surround yourself with people stuck in negativity, conversations revolve around complaints, gossip, and fear. These discussions rob you of momentum and reinforce limitation. Over 6 months, the cumulative effect of daily conversations is immense, shaping your emotional state and directing your attention. By being mindful of where your energy flows, you guard your progress. It is natural to feel conflicted about distancing yourself from certain people, especially if they are long-time friends or family. But it is important to recognize that protecting your growth is not an act of betrayal. It is an act of responsibility. You cannot uplift others if you allow yourself to be dragged down. Sometimes the best way to inspire those you love is to lead by example. When they see you commit to your 6-month transformation and witness the results, they may be inspired to change themselves. But this can only happen if you first make the difficult decision to prioritize your environment. Success requires courage, and sometimes courage means saying no to relationships that hinder your potential. Your associations also determine the standards you adopt unconsciously. If you spend time with people who tolerate mediocrity, lateness, or broken promises, you are likely to adopt the same behaviors. But if you surround yourself with people who demand excellence, honor commitments, and hold themselves accountable, you begin to mirror those standards. Over 6 months, these small shifts in behavior create massive differences in results. The simple act of showing up on time, following through on commitments, and keeping promises elevates your credibility and self-respect. These qualities, reinforced by your environment, become habits that serve you long after the 6 months are over. The law of association also works in reverse. As you grow and raise your standards, you may outgrow certain circles. This is not a rejection of others, but a natural consequence of personal development. Just as a plant outgrows its pot, you may find that certain environments no longer support your expansion. Recognizing this is not arrogance, it is awareness. If you cling to circles that no longer align with your vision, you stunt your growth. By courageously stepping into new associations that challenge you to grow further, you ensure that your momentum continues. 6 months of steady growth will likely place you in a different league than where you started, and this requires you to adapt your associations accordingly. Ultimately, the principle of association is about alignment. Who you spend time with must align with where you want to go. Over the course of 6 months, your environment will either accelerate your journey or hold you back. By consciously choosing uplifting, inspiring, and disciplined associations, you multiply your chances of success. You surround yourself with proof that transformation is possible, with reminders of what is at stake, and with accountability to stay the course. This is not merely a social choice, it is a success strategy. In 6 months, the difference between associating with growth-minded people and associating with negative influences can mean the difference between a transformed life and another cycle of frustration.